Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for joining me for today's video. In this one, we are going to be sewing a dress in a day. This is a little mini challenge that I love to give myself where I get one project, give myself a day and see what I can do with that time frame. I'm feeling really overwhelmed with ideas at the moment. I've got loads of lovely fabrics in my stash, but I do not have enough time. I find myself getting distracted so easily because I'm just completely and utterly overwhelmed with inspiration, which is not the worst problem to have, but it stops me from actually making anything. So I've decided I'm going to set myself some kind of mini challenges over the next few weeks of trying to get particular projects done in a certain time frame. And that seems to work really well for me and keep me much more on track. So for today's project, we are going to be hacking this simplicity pattern here. This is S9746. It's been on my to sew list for a while. It is a one shoulder tiered maxi dress. Very, very simple. It has lovely tie straps up at the shoulder, this lovely gathered tiered skirt as well, and elasticated waist. And I have had the idea of shearing the bodice of this dress. Now, because this is all gathered and it's loose fitting, I think I can get away with it. So my plan is to size up on this and shear the bodice and then just attach the skirt as normal. It sounds simple, right? It might not be. Firstly, I haven't done any shearing on my new sewing machine yet, so we'll be putting that to the test and see how it copes with shearing. Also, I've never actually made this pattern just out the packet before, so I have no idea if I'm going to like it or if it's going to work, but I'm feeling experimental today, so we're going to give it a go and see how it turns out. I've been really torn about which fabric to use for this project. I had a few different ones that I was choosing between, but I think I've finally made a decision. The fabric I've decided to use in the end is this pink and white stripe linen blend. I got this years ago from Rainbow Fabrics when I visited their shop, and I love it so much, but it is just sat on my shelf. So today I'm finally getting it off the shelf and getting it sewn because it's so cute. And I also saw a very similar dress to this on Pinterest where they used the horizontal stripes for the sheared bodice and then the vertical stripes on the skirt. And I really loved that kind of contrast. So I think we can play around with the stripes a little bit and have some fun with this. The only issue I have with this fabric is I only have 2.5 meters. So hopefully that will be enough. I'm not going to be able to do the full tiered skirt, obviously, but even just a gathered skirt with maybe a little ruffle at the bottom or something like that would be super cute. So I'm going to cut out the size 14. I've got about 6 hours today to get this done, so let's get going. So I've just cut out just the bodice for now. I haven't cut out the skirt. I'm going to see how much fabric I've got left over. But looking at this pattern piece, this might work. I'm really hopeful that it might. Fingers crossed. Now is the task of cutting this out and trying to match up the stripes, which I'm not looking forward to. But the great thing about using stripes when you're shearing is it means you don't have to mark out any of your shearing lines. So if I can cut this out very carefully and make sure everything aligns, this should look really good, fingers crossed. So the great thing about this fabric, which I didn't realize, is it's actually super wide. So I can fit both bodices across the top, which should give me loads and loads of fabric for the skirt. Now the bottom of this bodice isn't completely straight, it's near enough. So I've just tried to align as much as I can with this white stripe here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to shear from one side to the other, all the way down following the stripes. Sorry, I'm trying to keep out of the sun, so this is why I'm leaning. It is really hot in this room. I have just put the side seams together, not this little bit at the shoulder just yet, but the side seams I've stitched together and overlocked, so they're all finished. I'm pretty happy with how the stripes have aligned. We're pretty much perfect, aside from at the bottom where obviously it shapes a little bit, but once it's sheared, no one's going to notice. Nobody's going to be looking that closely at my seams, I hope, apart from my mum, probably. So we're ready to shear now. Now, I thought I hadn't sheared on this machine, but actually I did do a few lines of shearing on my yellow blouse in my vlog from the other week. And it did really well. It was a little bit tight, but that was a broderie on glaze and they're quite difficult to shear because obviously you've got lots of holes and texture within the fabric. I'm hoping this will be smooth sailing. I won't run you through a whole tutorial of shearing because I've done that so many times on this channel, so you're probably getting sick of me teaching you how to shear. I'll link some videos in the description box if you don't know how to shear, with some tutorials and tips and things like that. So for settings, I'm going to do my longest stitch length. I am going to leave my tension as normal, and when I wind the bobbin, I'm going to pull the elastic ever so slightly so it's got a little bit of tension in it, but not too much. That is my go-to kind of setup for shearing. Stitch is just a normal straight stitch as well, nothing fancy, and that normally does the trick. So let's see if it does on this machine. My machine is all ready. We're going to start from the bottom and work our way up, following the stripes to be our shearing guide. I haven't tested this fabric out yet, so let's see how it goes. Okay, moment of truth. Let's give it the stretch test. Oh my gosh, that's literally perfect. So before I get started, I'm just trying to figure out how often I want to do the shearing. Do I want to do every stripe or do I want to do every other? Now these stripes are quite small. They're quite close together. I would say they're probably under 1/2 inch each. So I'm thinking maybe every other. So this is where we are now. I've done all the rows where you can shear all the way around. I'm glad I did every other. It really didn't need every single one, and this looks lovely. So now I've got to do the annoying bit where we go from one side to the other on the front and back. Let's go. Are you ready for a sneak peek and the first try on of the bodice? Here we go. Right, ignore the dress folded down, and I'm wearing a totally wrong bra for this as well. But if we can overlook those tiny factors, this is adorable. I love this. I'm really, really happy with the fit of it. I love how much coverage there is over my chest as well. The length is really, really nice. I could have done with maybe an extra inch on the length, but it's not sitting right under my bust and giving maternity dress. Some lovely troll commented on my videos the other day and said everything I make is really unflattering and looks like a maternity dress. So now I'm really conscious about that, but I think there's enough waist here that it's fine. We are about 2.5 hours in. It's actually 3 and a bit hours, but I took some time out to have lunch and bother my husband for a bit because he was home this morning. So I think that's pretty good going for this amount of shearing. And also I have not been working at any speed considering I gave myself a time crunch. Next up, we need to add the straps, I think, to the bodice. Or do we add the skirt first? I think we go straps first and then the bodice is kind of finished because the skirt is going to be pretty easy, I think, to assemble. Okay, scrap everything I just said. I'm going to do this differently. So basically, I was just looking at the bodice again, and because it's stretchy and the original construction onto the strap that goes across the front of the bodice, that's gathered onto the strap, whereas I feel like when it's stretchy, it's not going to work as well. So I think I need bias binding around here. I think that's going to be the best option, or it's just going to look really, really messy. So I am going to cut my skirt first because I don't want to cut my binding first and then cut that in the wrong place and then not be able to cut out my skirt because I'm already cutting it fine for that. So I'm going to cut out my skirt first and then we'll go back later and we'll do binding around the neckline instead. I think that'll be a much better way to finish it. I'm just trying to figure out this skirt and it's giving me a headache because I want 2 tiers and I want the bottom tier going the other way. I'm just trying to figure it out. I think it should be fine. I think I've got just enough fabric because this is so wide. I reckon we're going to get this finished by the end of the day, you know. Yay!
That's so not going to happen.
As you might be able to tell, it's a fair bit later now. Life happened and I didn't manage to get back to this project. It was not that, but my husband's at work, so I was putting the kids to bed on my own today and they did not want to play ball. They did not want to play ball. So it's now 9 o'clock at night. I've only just finished cleaning up and sorting out stuff in the morning and whatever else, mum life in general. So I'm going to do a little bit more on this project and then I'm going to call it a night. So I'm not going to get this finished today, but you could definitely finish this in a day if you didn't have 3 needy children. But I have 3 very needy children, so I'm not going to get it finished today. I've got to just accept the defeat, but I did manage to get my skirt cut out. So I'm going to sit and do a bit of gathering and start constructing that. I would have loved to have got this finished today, but you know, I like to keep it real here. And as a mum who creates content and works as well, it's not all smooth sailing every single day and things happen. But it is well within the time frame of if you had a full day with no other obligations, you could definitely get this done for sure. Because I think once I've attached the skirt and done the binding and finished it off, I think we're probably going to be at another 2 hours. So I reckon in total, it's probably about 6 hours that I've worked on this. So it's definitely doable in a day. It's just not doable in my day today. So I'm going to start gathering the skirt and then I am going to call it a night because I am knackered. Good morning, it's the next day now. I actually managed to do more than I thought I was going to last night. I had more energy than expected. So I ended up attaching the bottom ruffle to the skirt. I gathered it all and then sewed it on. It looks so, so cute. So now I'm going to do 2 rows of gathering around the waist and I'm going to show you how I'm going to attach this skirt to the bodice. I've done this a couple of times in other videos, so sorry if this is boring and you've heard this technique before, but there is a technique that I use for attaching a woven skirt to a sheared bodice that doesn't involve like elastic, and it's really, really easy to do. So let me show you what I do. Now, sometimes when you are shearing a bodice and you're attaching a skirt, you can pull your bodice tight and it will fit perfectly with the skirt. On this occasion, it doesn't. The skirt is still a fair bit bigger, so that's why I've added the gathering. So what we're going to do is we're going to gather the skirt ever so slightly, and then we are going to pull the bodice as wide as we can and pin it in a few places, and then sew it, stretching out the bodice as we go. This looks like a thong right now. This is so funny. That will mean that when we're pulling that shearing elastic tight as we sew, when we release it, everything is going to be together, and it means that the stretch at the waist will align with the stretch in the bodice, if that makes sense. Okay, so this is a bit of a weird angle to show you, but it's the best way that I can show you. So basically, what we're trying to do, and what I've done on this side, is I've gathered my skirt enough that when I pull this bodice tight and flat, everything now lines up. I've popped a few clips in randomly, but as we sew, we can adjust the gathers and the stretch of the bodice and things. It's actually much easier to do when you're on your machine because your needle acts as a bit of an anchor. So now I just need to do the other side here. So I'm just going to add some gathers to this side. It didn't actually need loads. So what you're going to do as you gather is just pull your bodice tight, and you can see when the gathered side matches up with that pulled completely flat. I really hope this makes sense. That is matching up perfectly. So I'm just going to even out these gathers now and then pop a few pins along. Pull the bodice tight, try not to pull your skirt tight, and clip or pin, whatever you prefer. I prefer clips because I find they don't pop out when you start pulling things around. And also remember, your gathers don't have to be completely perfect, because when we get this on the machine and it's attached to the sheared bodice will gather it in naturally itself as well. So you'll have gathers from that too. So now we're going to start sewing. It's much easier if you've got your shearing on the top and your gathering underneath, because you can adjust your gathering and just kind of like sandwich it down, keep it flat against your machine. So we're going to pull from both sides as we sew. So you're going to have to pull from behind, turn the speed down on your machine, please, because this is really difficult to do, and stop regularly to make sure your gathers are even. You've just got to take your time and hope for the best. Let's go. Moment of truth. Here we go. I need to take the gathering stitches out, but how cute does that look? It's perfect. Should we give it a try on? I promise one day I will try this on with the right bra. I'm wearing a bikini top today because it's the only thing that works with the dress I was wearing. So ignore that for a minute. But if we just have a look at around here, you can't see the bottom of the skirt, which is really annoying because it's so cute. I'm really, really happy with this. The only thing I'm now thinking is that I might actually need to add some elastic around the neckline because of the weight of the skirt and everything. It seems to be slipping down a little bit under my arms. So I think what I'll do is I'll do a bias tape channel to go around here, and then I will elasticate that as well. I think that's going to be the best way to stop this from falling down. Otherwise there might be a flashing incident. So I have just pressed and, well, I sewed all together my strips of bias tape first, and then I pressed this all in half, wrong sides together, so we do have a raw edge, because I've decided that I'm just going to do an elastic channel all the way around the neckline. I'm not going to do the long tie that attaches. It's just going to be too messy and fiddly with a sheared bodice. And if I want a long tie, I can literally just make a separate one and tie it around the shoulder, and that'll look equally as cute. So I'm just going to attach this right sides together around the neckline, around the arm side, and then I'll overlock it all and finish it off. Okay, so I've been busy pinning. I've just attached my bias tape to my bodice, and similarly to how we did it earlier when we attached the bodice and the skirt, I pulled the bodice tight with the elastic. Oh, that pin's coming out. So everything sits flat when you pull it tight. Kind of going to sew it in a similar manner to how we did earlier. That just means when we put the elastic in, everything will sit really, really nicely. We'll go around and then finish the edges on the overlocker on both the neckline, the arm side. I'm going to do my waist as well, where I haven't finished that yet, and I'll do some overlocking on my hem. So we're going to take this to the machine, and with a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance, we'll stitch this just with a straight stitch. I'm using 1/2 inch elastic for this, by the way, so 3/8 of an inch will be perfect, just to make sure that there's enough room for the elastic to sit comfortably in here. And also make sure you leave a gap somewhere to insert the elastic too. Don't forget that step. I totally forgot to show you earlier, but at the ends of the bias tape, I have just sewn them together on the inside. So when we fold over, we've got one nice long strip. No raw edges on the top here as well. It's just a much, much nicer finish. I need to trim away this seam allowance and it'll look a lot better. the dress is finished. Even if it wasn't in a day, I finished it and I'm so happy with how it turned out. This is the second day in a row that I'm wearing this dress, which shows how much I love it. I'm a little bit disappointed I didn't get it finished on the dedicated day, but one thing I won't sacrifice when it comes to sewing is the quality of my sewing. And if it means I have to skip steps or rush or anything, it's just not worth it for me. But I do find giving myself a time frame is really helpful. Even if I don't achieve that exact time frame, it really helps me focus and keep one project in mind and not get distracted by other things and end up with a massive work in progress pile. I would highly encourage you to do the same if you are also struggling to focus on certain projects. If you don't have a full day to dedicate, you could do 15 minutes a day, 30 minutes a day, whatever works for you and your lifestyle. Just that little bit of free time that you've got that you might spend doom scrolling and then regret that you've not sewn later on. Try and sit down. I guarantee you, even if you go for 15 minutes, you'll end up doing an hour, because as soon as you get into it, it's hard to stop. I personally love these types of challenges though, so I'm definitely going to do more of these over the summer. Let me know what you think of the finished dress and if you would have a go at this hack yourself. And if you have any questions about the making of this dress, please pop a comment below and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Thank you so much for watching today's video. I really appreciate you being here, and I'll see you in the next one on Monday. Have a lovely week and happy sewing. Take care. Bye.